What's up, everyone? Dan here, Crypto Capital Venture, January 19th, 2020. Bitcoin at very, very critical resistance right now in the daily chart. I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to talk about it. Focus your attention on the 200 moving average, this daily indicator on this daily chart, the red line. Bitcoin seeing huge resistance there, and it is probably the most important thing that we can watch for in the coming days and this coming week, because if Bitcoin sees resistance there, we definitely have some critical areas just below us in the $7,700 to $7,300 range, and that's what I want to talk about in this video. So let's start. So we're talking about this red line, the 200 moving average. Now, it's so relevant to me because Bitcoin in these trends, these longer term trends, has so many consistencies. And these moving averages, in particular the 50 moving average, the blue line, and the 200 moving average, the red line, are so in tune and harmonious with historical data. So I want to zoom out on the chart a little and just show you something. Now, the move that Bitcoin is in terms of since July or June back here, this falling wedge of sorts, these lower lows and lower highs, is very similar on a smaller scale to what Bitcoin did at the top of the bull market at the end of 2017 into the bottom of the bear market. Lower lows, lower highs, right? Now focus your attention what happened at the top of the bull market back here. So Bitcoin hit a swing high, very overextended from this 50 moving average right here, the blue line. And then we get these series of lower highs of Bitcoin, and the 50 moving average crosses below the 200 moving average, right? Now look at Bitcoin seeing resistance here at the 200 moving average on its way down over and over again, just not being able to break that 200 moving average. And it's a perfect illustration of lower highs in this downtrend. Everybody remembers we eventually kind of fell into this triangle. Some were calling it a symmetrical triangle. Some were calling it a descending triangle, right? And we were seeing some support at $6,000 over and over until we broke down to the bottom of the bear market. Now, look at the similarities in terms of this shorter term move, swing high, overextension from the 50 moving average. We get this 50 moving average cross below the 200 moving average, that red line. We get resistance at the 200 moving average, and right now we are seeing resistance at the 200 moving average. Now, one thing to note, and I know I'll probably get comments about this, well, Bitcoin is in a different time frame now. The halving is coming, and I agree with that, right? So if we're going to break this 200 moving average resistance that is ahead of us, there's a huge case that we're going to get a continuation in this uptrend here because of the Bitcoin halving coming up, right? Historically, right around now is when Bitcoin starts moving a little bit in terms of seeing some gains going into the halving and then after the halving. Now, if we don't get that though, what can we anticipate? I mean, we can anticipate so many different things, but we have to look where do we see first support in terms of Bitcoin? We can go back to the chart I opened with, the Fibonacci channel, which is basically this swing low to this swing high and back down to this very critical area around $7,500. You have the 50 moving average right here around $7,500, and then you have the 618 here around 7,700 and the 786 around 7,300. So 7,300 up to $7,700 is what we'd be looking out for in terms of Bitcoin. And on this chart, that would look like, a retracement potentially down to this area, right? And then maybe down to here. So what will Bitcoin do if we come down to this area? Will we see support? Will it be a higher low from these swing lows that we just had in December? That's what we'd be looking out for. Now, if that doesn't happen, then we're in another scenario if it even gets more bearish and we break this support about a lower low from where we were in December. I mean, we've talked about this many times before we had this recent run up. If this was possible to continue lower lows in this downward trend, it is possible. Anything's possible, even going into the halving. These are things we have to anticipate for Bitcoin. What we want to see is this 200 moving average being broken. And this is what happened at the bottom of the bear market. This is the bottom of the bear market, December 2018. We finally broke above the 50 moving average. And then all in one day, Bitcoin just broke right through that 200 moving average. And then we saw continued higher highs and higher lows above the 50 moving average. That's what we want to see for Bitcoin. That's what leads to the 50 moving average cross above the 200 moving average. And right now, we're not seeing it. Right now, we're seeing something more similar to this resistance at the 200 moving average, resistance at the 200 moving average. It's the biggest thing to look for on the Bitcoin charts. I want to throw it out there to you just to keep track of it. If we're looking at where that is right now, obviously you see this wick on the daily chart, huge resistance, not being able to stay above 9,000. And it's our first rejection on the daily chart, really, where we were above 9,000. I don't know exactly how this will close, but keep an eye on it. Right now, around $9,000 to $9,050 is that area for Bitcoin to break. A really strong break above it would be very telling and similar to that type of move Bitcoin had out of the bear market at that last very swing low in December. Keep an eye on it. Wanted to throw it out there. Be careful out there. Anticipate everything. Anything can happen, and at the end of the day, this requires patience for Bitcoin to do its thing so that we can get set up for potentially and hopefully that bull market that everybody wants. Thank you for coming by today. Hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Hit that like button if you got any value from this video. I will see you in the next video. Have a good day, and God bless.